This clip takes place in my Uncle Lynn's kitchen after my family, my Uncle Stephen, Jim, my Aunt Cynthia, my dad, we got back from our walk, and we were talking to my Uncle Lynn before he left to go to work at the hospital for the day.
Across and up to Winthrop's house and around through Demeron and then down to the other lake.
Oh, Harriman.
And to Harriman, and then back. So we did about an hour and 10 minutes.
Yeah, y'all.
You got any goose goody?
Now is that
Goose pate?
is that green thing supposed to have the label on the outside? Because yours does. Your label.
It makes no difference. They go either way.
Okay, so
Well, that's
I want the
outside the
nurses to say
stain.
like this.
That's right.
Y'all go over there. I want to take everybody's pictures.
He's got his outfit on backwards. Who's gonna tell him?
No, I don't want to go towards the thing.
Where you
Y'all
go?
go over here.
Okay.
Over here because of the light.
Picture time. This is gold.
Picture time, green man time.
2, 3. Oh, that's excellent.
The other picture you took didn't go. We're going to Spring Creek for lunch then, but we don't want to tell.
This clip is just a bunch of some natural sounds that were listenable when my dad and I were sitting outside, just the two of us on my Uncle Lynn's porch. I think we were waiting for my other relatives to show up from wherever they may have been, but it was just a very tranquil and serene kind of experience. And then my dad actually starts talking, which kind of destroyed the vibe in a way. But, you know, in part of the balance, it was, it had to happen.
We'll leave in 5 minutes.
Leave to go where?
Go to Mama's and go down to.
I thought they were coming here.
No, we're going over
Oh.
there. Wear it, mount it, love it. Go pro.
This is a rather long clip, but this is my Aunt Cynthia talking about just her experience being with Mame since she's been down in Tallahassee so often recently. And this was recorded while we were on our way to Shell Point, which is some property that my dad's side of the family used to have. And it's sort of like their youth, beach time, memories kind of place. So very nostalgic for them, but I didn't really know much about it myself. And it was something I was happy to go and see for myself because I often hear about it, but had no mental image of what or where it was.
She traded some property in Crawfordville for this lot down at the beach.
Shell Point.
Shell Point. And Dad was interested, of course, in tinkering around.
Mm-hmm.
So he asked to just have a kind of a shell of a cottage put together, and that he would build it out.
In a lower level, it's just one level, right?
So we had a cinder block cottage put in, with the plumbing was put in and everything. But he wanted to do the electrical and all this other stuff. He thought that would be fun. So it took a little while to do it, but he did do it, and he enjoyed himself
And
in the
this,
process.
you guys were talking about this a little bit last night about how cheap he was, right? With
Materials.
yeah, he said he used the rafters for. Or was that for the Shell Point house, or was that a different house where there's no insulation on the walls and?
Well, the cinder block that was down there was no insulation, and I don't know about.
Maybe my dad would
Ceiling.
know better
Yeah, he
about
would.
that.
You would definitely know. But seriously, Lynn might have had the first Hobie Cat down there, and the Hobie Cat is that pontoon boat. So it was a real virtue for him. Oh, not a virtue. It was a real asset for him. And the thing about Shell Point is that it is very shallow. So Lynn did keep his bigger boats over there for a while, but he couldn't. It took him a long time to get out into. This is Stephen. Hi. Yes, we are. We're talking about Shell Point and the cinder block cottage. That's hard to believe. This is really cool. I have a picture of him. At the beach with Sharon looking at him, and he's a little boy running down the dirt road right in front of the empty lot that we have next to the house. I have that picture somewhere. And the archives. Well, what it is if y'all put on your speakerphone and I had on mine, we could talk the whole time. Is there a charger in there?
Not on that level. There's another level that I can call.
Yeah.
I can grab it.
Bye.
Does Steven need a charger?
No, I need.
There is. Looks iPhone compatible.
Yeah, that's fine.
Excellent.
We'll put that on down and.
Are there horseshoe crabs here?
Now you don't. So you've never been to the Ferrero plot?
I probably have. Wait, the
Oh, that's where we
cemetery
did the
or?
cemetery where you sang.
No, I have been there.
So yeah, you've been there.
Yeah.
Because right now is not a really good time to stop by just to say
No,
hello.
no, it's definitely not.
Fine.
It's a little bit sensitive.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Would you plug this in?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, you got all kind of hands. Here, I'll take a coffee.
Okay, sure. It's a little bit hot, as coffee tends to be.
It smells good, that coffee.
Thank you.
So then you've seen the cement slab or
Yes,
the
I have.
granite slab.
I've seen it a few times actually. Once
Yeah.
I think with Josh, maybe when it was first put in. Josh actually might come to the beach with us this year.
Well, wouldn't that be great?
I know, it's a full circle transformation for
Yeah,
that
it really
boy.
is. That would be great. You're welcome.
I will definitely. He wants to, although for him to take a week off work might be the difference between eviction and staying in his house. That's a lot of money to be.
Well, how about just a couple of days?
A couple days probably could do. He usually has a couple days off anyway, so we could figure that out.
So that he's working in a tight budget.
Oh yeah, it's been a tight budget the entire time he's lived in Atlanta. It's definitely I've learned to figure out how it is actually to live paycheck to paycheck now myself, and I'm very surprised that all my friends are able to.
Manage.
Yeah, because none of them are really frugal in any sense.
Really.
Yeah, so they spend all of their money as soon as they get it, and they just have to kind of
One day at a
survive.
time, live one day at a time.
Yeah, although they live like a week's worth of time in one day.
Right.
So it's all gone. And getting paid every 2 weeks is a little bit difficult because then you having a mirage of having this wealth of money all of a sudden, and then you just spend frivolously, and then all of a sudden you don't have any left.
Do you think that Josh has any regret about not continuing to go into college?
Oh yeah, I think that he's torn about it pretty regularly. I think he goes through feelings of wishing that he had and then being happy that he didn't. But overall, I think that he would have preferred to have done that because he would have graduated by now. And so to see the things that he's accomplished in the meantime, I don't think he's done a lot of good stuff, a lot of good music, and he's definitely spent his time well enough. But I think in terms of, future productivity's sake, I think if he could revise his past, he would probably go to school.
And is he not in a position to do it now? No.
He's tried several times and just never been able to finish the semester or devote the time that he needs to in order to accomplish.
Did he go through his junior year or?
He graduated high school and he attempted several times just to get some of the core classes for college out of the way online at, I think, Georgia, maybe Perimeter at first, and then technical, Gwinnett Tech or something.
Right.
And he's just never been able to really devote the time and effort that it would be.
To accumulate.
Yeah, I mean, it's
credits.
difficult, because he works close to full time, and then outside of work, he has a girlfriend, and that takes a lot of time too, plus all of his animals that he has. So it's not, he has to really carve out his time wisely if he wants to add school on top of all that. And he's, by the end of the day, I just don't think he's very motivated to do trigonometry on top of everything else.
Right.
So he has not been able to complete that yet, but I think he would still like to. Jake actually came into a fairly good amount of money recently. His mother passed away, and he got $60,000. And so he could actually feasibly go to school. He could actually retire from working right now and pay all of his own expenses, go to school, really improve the quality of his life. He could travel in the world. He could get
Have you told him maybe that's a good idea?
Ad nauseum, I've told him that.
Really? Okay.
And he has heeded not a word.
Nice.
It's frustrating. His depravity seems voluntary at this point. He likes the position that he's in, I guess. Or just refuses to go through the work that's needed to better himself. Very frustrating. I'm the only one. All my other friends keep telling me I should just leave him alone and let him do what he wants with his money. But I don't think people realize that time is a precious commodity that's always slipping out of your fingers.
That's true.
Well, that's one of the main things that I have felt in this, or have noticed in this time of passage for Mother, is that you do come to a point, everyone does, where, is this
Occupy Tallahassee?
No, it's like it.
It does look like it.
Oh, what was it?
It looks
To the
like
left, yeah. This protest is about the 10%, and they had a percentage thing there
I am the one.
of have-nots, I guess.
Yeah, the 99% or the
I missed
versus.
the number.
We told Kenneth this yesterday, but we walked into a encampment in West Palm Beach. They had one right in downtown West Palm.
Wow.
And we were bicycling or walking or something down there. And we walked in, and they were real nice to us once they realized we weren't, trying to.
The man.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
We just wanted to talk with them in there a little bit.
Well, yeah, this time of passage for Mother, who at 87 or almost has gotten the diagnosis of a terminal illness, so she knows that it's really her time.
Yeah.
Hi, Danny. Hello? Hello?
That encampment at the AT&T building there.
Oh, yeah.
They got their demands. I don't know what their demands were.
Really?
But AT&T granted their demands.
Huh.
They had what looked to be 10, 12 tents out there.
Yeah, it was a very grotesque display.
Right.
Yeah, that was a weird little group.
I know, it really was.
It's so weird. Some of the encampments, I think, had like children and stuff too.
Yeah, I think so.
Families just uprooted and.
The original one in Atlanta was down at the Central Park, Central City
Woodruff, right?
Park. Yeah, Woodruff.
Yeah, I saw that.
I didn't go by it. I never did go down there.
It was indistinguishable from the homeless people who also congregate there.
Right.
They didn't pick the very good location
Yeah, exactly.
to make a statement. Anyway. Yeah, it's interesting. Danny?
Now, Steve.
I'm busy.
Hey.
Hey, everything that we should call Liz McAllister, I mean, call me husband. and see how they're doing it. If they want to join us, maybe Korean
Graduation.
Well, that's a thought. We could see. I don't think she's very mobile, and so it might be very helpful for us to let her get out. You know, I mean, we have the ability to help her get somewhere, so that wouldn't be a bad idea.
Not bad to pick her up.
If we want to, if we tell them we're heading down that way, I wonder if they would like to go along, but we're almost to their house.
But then we.
Oh, you know, that's not a good idea. Maybe after we do it, maybe after we're there, we could drop by and say hey to her on the way back, and do the.
I think maybe that's a better idea.
Yeah, and do it.
To show Point, you know.
Yeah. We don't want to drag them all around because she's on painkillers because I mean she had a hip replacement really, but
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's think about going to our house on the way back.
yeah, and she may also still be in a rehab center. It's not,
Right. That's
you
what
know.
they were thinking. Maybe keep us down here alone, then he can go with us. But yeah.
Well, yeah, we may want to check.
To leave that alone until we come back.
Right. Agreed. Okay. All right.
Now what are y'all talking about? You should call them and ask them what they're talking about.
I was just going to say that we were passing by the hospital that Daddy used to be a white doctor at the black hospital.
That's right. That's right.
Yep. He was progressive.
Go ahead.
Bye.
So you were talking about the passage. I'm curious more about that.
Well,
Passage of
it's
terminal illness now.
well the
her
terminal
age.
illness. Okay, so you look and you say, okay, I'm 87.
Mm-hmm.
I've got what's called a stage 4 renal carcinoma, which
Right.
there's not a stage 5.
Right.
So, you know, you have to say, okay, what do I think now? What do I want to do?
Yeah.
And the big thing that I've come up with and seen the word is, do I have any regrets?
Right.
You know, the movie was cute that had the bucket lists, and people say, yeah,
I know
want to do
it. I
this,
saw
this,
that.
this,
Morgan
and that.
Freeman.
Yeah. Jack Nicholson too.
And it is nice to be able to have had these accomplishments, especially if you look at them and you count up your accomplishments, no matter what they are, and then feel good about it. Yes, I did what I wanted here.
Yeah.
But not everyone has the wherewithal to be satisfied with their accomplishments, or the fortune to be satisfied with their accomplishments. But I do see that when there's a diagnosis given of this type of magnitude, of it's about your time to be gone, that you look to see, do I have regrets? And then hopefully you don't. And with Mother, it's been interesting to me because, of course, because it's my mother and I want her not to suffer and to feel good, but any assessment of her life from a total stranger or from anyone that knows her well would say that she was absolutely very, very blessed.
Right.
She never
That's
had
true.
financial difficulties. She had a very respectable, handsome, loving husband who
Provided everything.
for her.
Yeah.
She had healthy children. They all turned out to be good, productive citizens, and she's not had to worry about finances. She started traveling. She found a couple of places that she particularly liked to go, one being Hawaii and one being Vegas. And she every year would go to both, you know, for Hawaii she would go for 3 weeks, you know.
That's a massive amount of time.
And
Every year.
Every year. And sometimes she'd go twice to Vegas in a year, but at least once. So she's always had these things, and so you would make that assessment. So it was kind of surprising to me when she got this terminal illness that she wasn't more vocal about, you know, being comfortable with it somehow. That the other thing is she's never been in bad health. She's never had back pain or
like so many people.
yeah, like so many people her age. I mean, nothing like that.
Her vision and hearing is great.
Her vision's great. She's got her teeth.
Yeah.
All her teeth, they're pretty. I mean, she's just, you know, she's as a matter of fact, at the beauty parlor, they're all waiting to see what she's going to come in wearing. You know, she's kind of an inspiration around there because she's always been so vivacious and
Right.
and conscientious about looking nice and things
Right.
like that. That she's a little scuttlebutt that they'll talk about in a positive way.
Yeah.
Because you don't have a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
Sometimes in a beauty parlor situation. Anyway, I was a little surprised that she wasn't more vocal, but as I had said, I felt like her background has been one out of the Depression era.
Right.
That's true. Yeah.
When she was in an age of high school, even we were in the World War.
Right. The
And-
first one was she alive for the First World War?
No,
No.
she missed that one, but she got into World War II in a
She was
time.
born in 25, wasn't she?
1925.
Okay.
So, and the war was happening, what, in 40
40 to 45.
45.
Sort of.
So she's a teenager. She's where you can start remembering your life
Right.
and start having impressions. And she watched and had boyfriends that were killed, that
Did
were
she really?
soldiers. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. She had people that didn't come home and everything. And she was just starting college. She was in college when the war ended, or a couple of years in college.
Yeah.
When the war ended. So she had gone through a time where you did make sacrifices and where you did, where you were very, very sensitive not to have excess, and you were grateful for what you did have.
Yeah.
Very patriotic sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I think it also, because it was war and sadness, and you weren't in that mindset. You weren't a protester. There weren't people that were
Yeah.
opposed to the war.
Yeah.
No, nobody really. Right. It's not like Vietnam.
Exactly.
Right.
I was going to say that didn't happen until Vietnam, when people started saying, "Now wait a minute." But
Yeah.
so I think that her training kind of was that you don't complain.
Right.
You don't complain. You don't react.
And you also see what happened in the Great Depression,
Yeah.
and you know how, in just instantly almost things can change.
Right.
So now tell me, the Great Depression came right after the war, right?
It was before.
It was before.
The war was what cured it.
Well, actually,
Okay.
she was real young
Yeah, she would have been only
during that
her 10s
period.
or whatever.
That's right. But she still witnessed it.
It would have affected her family, no doubt.
Oh yeah.
Or the larger
Absolutely.
community.
That's right.
I was going to say, because see, at a certain point, she became extremely insulated from problems.
Yeah.
Just by being married and
Right.
to a doctor and all that, she really didn't ever have that kind of consciousness. But she
Yeah.
still would be, is extremely conservative. I mean, I watch her now because, I'm having to take care of her, so I'll walk in the bathroom and be in the bathroom with her, and she will take 3 pieces of tissue to use,
Yeah.
and she'll count them. I mean, she'll
Yeah.
take it and she'll fold it. And so, and she'll, she's extremely, she'll take a napkin and she'll use her napkin and she will
Border to border.
use it again
Yeah.
and again.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't tell you how
I
many.
noticed in her calendar she keeps in the kitchen on the
Yeah.
counter. There's some of those folded halves of paper towel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, she
Yeah.
recycles them and recycles them, and a lot of Dad used to recycle things on a
Yeah.
regular
Oh,
basis.
yeah.
Oh, no
Sure
doubt.
did.
Yeah, he was a utilitarian, no doubt.
Yeah, and so I think though that with her personality, when she got this, like she's really had to process it and has had to process it.
Oh, because it's a hardship out of such a life of luxury.
Yeah, yeah. It's something that she's keeping real close to the chest.
Right.
And she hasn't known how to react to it, really. It's not in her vocabulary. See, death is not in a very, it's not a subject that people talk about too much.
No,
That's right.
It's a taboo.
My mother was like that, and she never talked about it. And we had to take her to our attorney to get her will made. She was already in her 70s. And she never told us where she wanted to be buried, next to my father, whom she lived with 17 years, or Fred, whom she lived with 20 years.
Wow.
See, my father died and left my mother a widow.
Yeah.
And then 5-10 years later, my mother remarried. But spent more time with Fred.
Right.
And yet we just buried her next to my dad. You know,
Yeah, see, I mean,
but she never told us.
right. See, our generations have learned to express yourself.
Yeah.
And it's cool to be an individual,
Yeah.
but her time was not that way.
More conservative, more straight-laced, more Japanese, really.
Yeah, I was thinking
be
that.
honest.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was thinking that. But anyway, so this diagnosis, she has really just begun speaking about it.
Right. Because it's a reality she can't really look away from.
Well, especially when we went to the hospital again,
Yeah.
just the other day. That kind of broke her after that of keeping it way to herself, because she now has another situation with the congestive heart failure.
Right.
It's not just now she's been told she had cancer. Now she's got this congestive heart failure on top of it, and so I guess she said, okay.
And you can actually see it. It's tangible. They have pictures.
Yeah, and such, and so and so she's just starting to tell her friends, kind of thing, because it depends on how close they are.
Yeah.
If it's just an acquaintance or something, I mean, she's not using this to get to the front of the line.
Right.
She's just, people say, "How are you, Mary?" "Oh, I'm fine."
Yeah.
And the first time she ever said something was with the aunt who had just broken her hip. So we went to the hospital to see her about 2 weeks ago, and she looked at me and said, "Well, Cynthia, what are you doing in town? Have you retired?" Well, after I got over the shock of realizing that I am, as I approach 60, in a position that I could be given that impression that it was time for me to retire.
Right.
After I got over that, I said, "Well, no, Mom was in the hospital, so I've been hanging close to her since then."
Yeah.
And she said, "Oh, Mary, why were you in the hospital? I didn't know you were in the hospital." And Mother yelled out, "I've got cancer!" Real
Really?
loud. And this is the first time I heard her say it.
Yeah.
And the aunt thought she was kidding.
Really?
Yes, she said, "Oh, Mom, you're kidding, right? You're kidding me." And then Mother said, "No, I'm serious." And then the aunt said, "I'm so sorry."
Yeah.
And Mother said, "Well, that's just a fact of life." Well, now that's something Dad would have said and did
Sounds
say
like
to
it.
me.
Yeah. The way he
So-
went out too sounds.
Yeah,
That was
that's
his
just
attitude.
a fact of life.
Right.
And so since then, she's been more verbal about it. But getting back to what I think is the crux of a lot of what this is about is the importance of living a life that you don't have regrets.
Right.
And in that vein, I told Kenneth, and I'll tell you, Jim, I went to Hay House because they deal with a lot of terminal situations. And, a lot of good authors are with them. And I got a book online called The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying.
It's really interesting. Yeah,
And it's from a caregiver. They call it palliative care, in the last few months and weeks, a personal caregiver.
Right.
And the girl's done a great job of telling in parables like Jesus or whoever.
Yeah.
People understand best when they have little stories. But the number one regret is that people tend to have is that they live their lives on what's expected of them, not necessarily how they want.
Right.
How they want to live it. And I think that this is something that our generations are actually understanding better.
That's true. I think so too.
That most people, be it from when being gay and you had to keep that in a closet.
Yeah, you had to be secretive. Right.
My situation where I decided to choose a family. I didn't want to necessarily roll the dice and just have a baby and say, "That's my family." I said, "Okay, I like you.
Exactly.
Right.
Let's see if we can't make a little world here where we have a good communal understanding and such." So people, I do think in our generations are trying to get past that, because that is a drag.
Very
to
true.
come to
Yes.
near the ends of your time, and that's what they used to call it a midlife crisis. Well, I tell you what it is. You turn 50 years old and you take inventory.
Right.
Uh-huh.
That's Johnny's house, by the way, that we just passed. That's where
Johnny.
John Farrell, where
Oh,
we
yeah.
were. They own all this
They do?
750 acres
Is
to the
that right?
right. We're right next to Wakulla Springs. They have sinkholes, crocodiles, snakes.
So they would call his children feral children.
They could.
Interesting.
They could.
Yeah.
I
Interesting.
don't think he and Hank plan to have it.
No, I don't think they're going to adopt him.
Oh, actually, Hank already has.
Yeah,
Hank had
that's
a
right.
family. I know that because their son is now running the restaurant.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Oh, Mary Max, really?
Wonderfully. Running
Huh.
it well.
Well, their food is really
Yeah.
very improved
Right,
since
yeah.
he's taken over.
Huh.
Yeah, he's 26 and he's
He's perfect for it.
doing a great job. But I do think, and I think that maybe other generations have seen this situation where they come with their parents or their grandparents or something, and perhaps they do see. I mean, a lot of times, and the most common thing that people will say is, "Oh, well, she's had a good life." How old is she? 87. Well, she's had a good life, and that's kind of
Right.
a canned response
Right.
to this. But no matter what any of us from the outside look and see, that question is your own to answer, and because we are all going to come to this time when we're dead, and I'm actually thinking that there's something more beautiful about knowing that you're going to die than being tragically having a heart attack and keeling over, or being in an accident.
Yeah.
And I think that I might have wanted to just kind of be gone before, but not now.
Yeah.
I do see that this preparation has a beautiful side
has
to
its
it, an
benefits,
advantage.
too.
Yeah, it has an advantage to it. But to be the one and look around and say to yourself, do I have regrets?
Yeah.
And is the question. I think that might be the biggest question that I can think of, the most important one.
Well, talking about that, sort of like your internal experience versus what people expect of you, Aldous Huxley had a really good analogy when he was actually trying to describe the psychedelic experience that mescaline creates on a person. He said that the best way to describe, even though you're surrounded by society and society tells you what to do, it's three slaves enter the Colosseum together, but they're crucified alone. And so the actual crucifixion process, which can be the metaphor for the struggles in your life, you endure that by yourself, even if you are with other people. And so that ultimate subjective experience is the most important, although you're constantly surrounded by others who are going to influence what you decide to do, where you decide to go. Your degree of allowing people to influence that part of you, I guess, generationally, definitely. People my age are a lot more independent, and a lot of them to their detriment, I would say.
Well, you've got your friends we were talking about earlier.
Yeah,
They had
too
the
much independence.
I mean, they were able to get a tattoo 1 minute after they were 18, but you
Right.
still want Darth Vader on your arm.
Right.
Perhaps you do, but at 35, you may not think
or
that way
45,
as
55.
much.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This generation, it's going to be, speaking specifically of tattoos, it's weird because I see a lot of older people come into Whole Foods and, mature working adults, young adults, and they don't have tattoos, but it seems like most people my age have at least one tattoo. And it's a weird sort of like trend. Brittany recently got a tattoo on the back of her neck. 3 circles, actually 4 circles for her family to, I guess, notate the members and everything. But it's just going to be weird because the body dissolves over time, and so no tattoo will look good forever.
Yeah.
True.
Especially the more intricate ones. But that's not so much on the topic of everything else.
Well, it is. It's does that become a regret?
Right.
It's one of those things. The question becomes: you stand there and say, "Okay, the curtain, and actually Wayne Dyer's just done some beautiful work on this, that he says, and there's some really interesting studies involved, that you are in either the morning of your life or the afternoon. You know, and you have very different values in the morning as opposed to the evening.
Right.
And what's interesting is the values are different from women and men in both scenarios.
Right.
In the morning of your life, in particular for men, they are trying to get ahead, and they're competitive, and they're trying to amass money, and have a good time, and do these sorts of things to
attract a maid.
To attract a maid and to sustain that.
Right.
But in the afternoon of the life, their priorities change. They just do, and spirituality, happiness becomes a bigger factor, and people realize that they don't gain it in the same way. Happiness does not come from the same formula.
Right.
But the studies that he's just recently done, and they out and out take, and this would be a very good insertion into your dialogue about what the top 10 priorities are, because they had huge surveys of people when they were in their 20s and 30s, and then the same people in their 60s and 70s.
Do you remember any of the things that were the priorities the difference between the groups?
Definitely the power that you were trying to have, personal power, was redefined. It used to be toys and objects and wealth.
Right.
And in the latter part of your life, it becomes your family and the things that you do that you enjoy, and they could be and often were very simple things, that much more bird watching or grandchildren, and
gardening,
things, things of that nature. Feeling good. Feeling good becomes feeling good from your health, not from your wealth. From your wealth,
from health. From wealth to health.
Was the change.
Right.
And Wayne Dyer's had an interesting career, and he has simplified tremendously in his time. And he recently was diagnosed with leukemia.
Really?
Yeah, and he heard about some sort of mystic in India who could help with his leukemia. So there was like a set time that this mystic was supposed to do surgery on Wayne Dyer. And it was all like just decided upon. He didn't go over to India. And now Wayne is walking around saying, I don't have leukemia anymore. Now, what's interesting, and this was on a show of Oprah's, is that he also quit doing all the drugs and going to see all the doctors that he was seeing for his cancer.
Right.
And just said, I'm not putting my mind there.
Right.
And my putting my mind voluntarily into this diagnosis has hurt my recovery.
I believe that.
Yeah, so
I can see it.
And so that's very interesting with that. But in this facing of this situation himself, that he wrote this book, which and it's out with the studies in it, and the studies are very, very telling of things.
Interesting.
But the other thing in the number 2 regret with number 1 is I wish I had lived the life I wanted instead of the life that was expected of me.
Right.
That's number 1, living for others' expectations. Number 2 is I wish I had not worked so hard. And there is that false, I guess, desire to have a better car and a better home.
Yeah.
That makes you go bigger and all, whereas there's a tremendous beauty in simplifying and in not having, a lot of people, for instance, won't go anywhere because they have the dog and cat to take care of and something. So while I like animals, I don't personally have animals because I don't want that
The grounding.
grounding. I
Right.
want to be able to move around, or to be in a situation where they can be cared for so you can.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of people say I work too hard, and the third one is I wish I'd spent more time with my friends, and not.
Friends,
and
yeah.
a lot of people just totally lose their friends or don't care enough for them, and then in the end of your life you start looking around saying,
Where is
where are
everybody?
they?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we used to have such fun
Yeah.
doing things, and why do I not do that? And I haven't gotten finished with the book, so I don't know what 4 and 5 are yet.
It's a good book.
But I didn't have to. It was enough for me to go to number 1.
Right. That's an
Because
important one.
Yeah, if you're living fully and you're in what you love, and I do think that's more in your generation, Kenneth, than
Yeah.
any generation
Yeah, right.
before.
I do
Sure.
too.
Is
Yeah.
that you are really trying to do something that you enjoy doing, because you do it and you look up and 20 years have passed.
Right. Right.
It's surprising.
Yeah.
And one thing that's nice is that you don't have your parental pressure now to be married in your 20s.
Thank God.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that
True.
used to be
Or teens.
Right.
Or
Right.
teens, yeah. I mean, my grandmother, if you made it to 20, and,
You were
and
old,
my
man.
mom's or mother's
But yeah,
time, it was like, oh
my
my
grandmother was
gosh.
14 when she got married.
14. Wow.
Yeah, you
Good
always
Lord.
got married. But and when I'm 1953, I was born. So everybody got married in college.
Right.
When you were 20, 21 was kind of old.
Right. Right.
Usually in your 20s, 20 to 21. And I did. Of course, my marriage didn't ever take well, and I was only married for a year
Right.
the first time, and then 5 years the second time.
Yeah.
And it was, both times were really a result of the peer pressure.
Yeah.
Not really because I looked around and said, because that was not the kind of life I was living. I was
Right.
not necessarily trying to have
Right. Family.
the regulation family. I was more interested in traveling and what was really or living kind of
By the seat of your
naturally.
pants.
no, not the seat of my pants. I mean, I always liked to live in the islands
Right.
or live where it was warm
Yeah. Yeah.
and such. And I was very much motivated in my life by the vegetarianism that I adopted when I was 25.
Right.
And it was actually vegan, and I was like the only one, and that I, pretty much around.
Right.
And because of being vegan, I got into eating healthy and enjoying, a more simple lifestyle and stuff. Because they didn't have tofu, they didn't have prepared meats and things like that. So I moved, to a situation where I had a farm and accessibility, and
Yeah.
the few people I surrounded myself with were also vegans, and we just kind of made our own little world. And we would work in Florida,
Yeah.
and I was artistic and had the art company. I would work in Florida for a few months, and then we'd go to Jamaica or the Dominican Republic or something like that for months at a time, and live over there and eat mangoes or
Yeah.
breadfruit or whatever the local climate gave us. And Hawaii,
I didn't know that.
I would only work during the winter in Florida, because the winters in Florida weren't bad. So that's when I would, with the art company and different ways that we would make our money, and then we would rent a place for 6 months in Haiti or wherever, and go live over there, and in a beautiful situation.
Huh.
And then come back and do it again. I did that for 10 years. Then my next 10 years, I did that for 10 years, but then for 3 years, I was out with magic and the family out there, because I became interested in what was creating the collective consciousness, and that was television and movies. I
Right.
realized that too, because we in the community, since we were the early vegans, we wrote the books, And my ex-husband, Michael Clapper, was a vegan MD, and he started writing the books. And that's how we parlayed into the Hollywood set, is that we went out and did with Casey Kasem and River Phoenix and Harvey and Marilyn Diamond, we did the celebrity vegetarian banquets, in which we were just feeding the celebrities good vegetarian food from different nationalities, so that they would possibly, like River had done for a while, they would talk about their vegetarianism, and we realized it made a big difference and a good impression on people to see
To put it
the
out
movie
there.
stars that were selecting this. And so we said, oh, well, we want to let, inspire some. And that's when I met Danny Glover, and of course I met Magic.
Right.
And his whole family, and at one of the banquets that we were sponsoring.
So when were you in the convent in California?
Convent. No, commune, not convent. Convent.
Negative connotation?
No, convent's good. That's spiritual, nuns and stuff.
Right.
That's fine. But that's certainly what I was doing.
The commune. Okay. What
The commune
years?
was in Florida. That was communal.
Never in
with the
California?
vegetarian- no, well, you could have called it. See, there was two. It was kind of the same and it's kind of different. The 10 years that I was in a commune in Florida, they were all vegetarians. That was the common ground.
Okay.
They were all vegans. It was a vegan community. And we lived on a farm, 10 acres at one time, 5 acres at one time, and we had, I think, 60 acres in Kentucky.
Wow.
Yeah. When you work together, you can really save a lot of money.
Yeah. No doubt.
Really. And so the communal concept was really kind of good and beneficial if you did it right. And we all, with our money, you would have the bills, like, okay, the mortgage on this house is X amount of dollars and the electricity is this much annually, so you'd have this much we have to make in the bills, and once you made those bills,
You do whatever
it
you
was
want.
divided up. Yeah, the rest of the money was your money, and then we'd all put it together to get a vacation house for the other 6 months.
Right.
But that was with the concept of get a vegetarianism being a very big unifying force, and also something that was very interesting to talk about because so many people, weren't vegetarian.
Right.
And so that's why we started teaching how to cook and stuff like that, and wrote cookbooks and books like that. But then with Magic, their communal situation was they were all musicians in the same band, and they had moved from California to from New York, where he was born, to California because that's where the music industry and everything was.
Right.
And so it was easier for them, also the people in the band, for rehearsals or what have you, to be in the same house. So that's how his common denominator, was.
Right.
And I just met them, and I wasn't a musician, but I was very interested in the psyche that set the trends and everything out that way. And then, of course, Magic had a son who had leukemia. Magic and Star had a son named Little Magic, and he responded very well to the vegan diet, even though he's come to leukemia 3 years after I met him. He was 5 years old, and he never suffered from the cancer that he had, and that was really, really very important to his mother. So he only ate organic foods, and he did all the juices and all of those things. And the last week in his life, he did take some Tylenol.
I remember you telling me that years ago, that was the only thing he ever took for it.
Right. His pain was managed well enough with a more natural method, which was very important for, the suffering. You don't want to see a child suffer.
No. Who is his mother?
Star Mendez.
I don't know if I've met her.
She's also, you'll meet her. You can meet her in a month. She'll be out here in a month.
Will she?
Yeah, very close friend of mine. Still. Very close. Wonderful woman. And she was, one of the singers in Magic's band.
Yeah.
I mean, he was the band leader, and then Star, and then, of course, Harmony, who's been singing with Magic since high school.
Yeah.
Anywhere in here is good to park.
Is it really?
I think you just have to maintain that, where that people can get in and out. But
Yeah, this should be fine, shouldn't it?
We have arrived.
Yeah.
it might be what David noticed over here, probably.
This clip is on our way still to Shell Point. After we ate lunch, we went and we saw this big boiling, or this big boil, I think is what they call it colloquially. But basically, it's an underground aquifer that is fed by the mountains up in South Carolina. And so this water goes underground and through all these caverns and just pretty unbelievable, I'm sure, geological terrain. And it bubbles up inside of, I think we were at Wakulla Springs is what it's called. But so it's just this big, you can see this outline, this circular, like, movement, and it looks like the water is boiling. And that's just water coming up, fresh water, spring water from the ground and mixing with some of the water from the Gulf. And it was a pretty cool little natural phenomena to see. And this clip takes place there.
There's a white one.
De facto segregation.
I know it.
So is this where you guys had some property?
No, okay. This is where, you know, Wakulla Springs is one of the biggest springs, one of the deepest and purest springs in the world. One of the deepest springs in the world.
I definitely did not know that.
You didn't?
No bottom.
No bottom.
Well, it's not that there's no bottom, but there's,
I like the sound of it though.
it's a very deep, primal spring. And they have found mastodons and all kinds of things down in it. Seriously.
No, I believe this is funny.
Bones, yeah.
Not whole.
And so
Observe mastodon.
there's this area is a conduit for a lot of springs coming up.
Okay.
This particular one comes up in the water. And there it is, boiling away.
Huh.
And it pumps out tons. If we can go this way. Pumps out massive amounts of water into the.
All my favorite little stickers.
And so there it is. You can see it.
Yeah, that's circle.
Coming right out. And what we would do as kids is we would go over there and you try to swim into it, but it's a river pushing, you know, so you really can't. It'll just push you up.
Huh.
And so see, we're right here on the estuary, and then that's the Gulf right there. So this area
This is all
where
fresh
salt water and freshwater meet is what is called a brackish kind of water, and it is what oysters need to produce. And you can see you've got oysters growing on the lower part over there. And there's oysters everywhere, but there's a number of these springs, but that's a big one. So
just right there's an extremely deep hole.
that's a river coming up. It's just underground to this point.
Oh, so that's what you said, it was a conduit. So where's the river?
Well, they say all this stuff goes up the North Carolina mountains.
Wow.
That's actually where everything kind of starts percolating down, but they say that all this system and it comes up in this North Florida area here is and Wakulla Springs is one. St. Mark's River is another big spring. These are so huge they create rivers. They're not just a little bit of water coming out of the ground.
Right.
But that one, of course, has eaten itself into the Gulf, so you can't really say how much water it is.
Right.
But the scientists know. But it's a unique phenomenon to.
Yeah.
Remember the canal house in back of Shell Point House?
The boathouse.
It reminds the boathouse, right, with the piers.
That
We used to take
looks
crab,
awful. That looks very
crab
dangerous.
traps. Stephen and I would put crab traps out.
Yeah.
And you'd put pieces of chicken, and then we'd catch crabs and cook them.
That's delicious.
Now that door there is a little bit dangerous.
Yeah, it looks like that. The whole
And
structure looks a little bit.
If you were drinking a little too much, and you decided that
Step outside for a cigarette.
step outside for a cigarette, you'd either just get awfully dirty, or if you step too far, you might impale yourself.
Good Lord.
You might not make it. But anywho, there's the boil, and they call it a boil.
Because it looks like it's boiling up.
Looks like it's but it's really an exit point for spring.
Huh.
Now there's another phenomenon around here there's a place called River Sync. and it's where an actual river comes out of the ground for a few hundred yards and then goes back in.
Wow.
And it doesn't flow down, but it just sort of comes up and goes.
Huh.
So there's a number of these, and when we were all down, Jim wasn't here, but me and Cynthia and a couple of us, David, when we went to John Farrell's house, which we went by,
on the way.
He has 720 acres.
Wow.
And there are sinks and these boils and so forth there.
Huh.
And some of them are connected into Wakulla Springs, and the United States government wants to buy some of this because, finally we've realized that, water sources and things like that are important.
Right.
So, but he's holding out for a lot of money. But they want 17 acres around this one particular pure spring that connects back into Wakulla Springs. Because he's only about 3 miles from that. But he's not going to sell it.
Not yet.
Not until the price gets.
Right.
So here's our charity.
This clip takes place when we were actually at Shell Point, and it's just a little talk with my Uncle Stephen, telling me a little bit about the area and some of the memories he has of the place.
There was a little marina, it's all kind of old tacky stuff, but
Yeah.
and it all kind of got a lot of it got blown away, but some of it actually. What happened was during the great build-up, when they built all these fancy houses, it just wasn't good enough, so they tore it down, and now they regret it because everything, as Eloise said, didn't come to fruition. It just stopped. And these things, which are great places, we actually rented one for the weekend, just never sold.
Right.
I don't think any of them sold. They've got millions of dollars here, and they're fabulous homes, but there's no restaurant here, there's no nothing.
Right.
So
Where was your property?
I'll show. We're gonna go.
Okay.
There. This was the whole area is probably less than a mile long. So it's a real bit short. But we were on the right-hand side up here. You'll see.
Okay.
It's 3 times as big, and even this little bit, but it's 3 times as big as what we when we were living here. You don't mind getting in the trunk?
This clip comes from later the same night. It's my dad, one of my grandma's friends named Iris, and we're sitting out on the porch again and talking about Mame. She's not in the room with us. She's not outside with us, so it's a pretty real conversation, and kind of alludes to the general overtone that was present while in Tallahassee.
3.
Yeah, I thought it was about 2 or 3.
Yeah,
but yeah, she
but
was.
I'm sure that wore her out.
Oh, and this trip today may wear her out,
Yeah.
but that's good because she sleeps through the night.
Exactly.
Right.
See, when none of you all are around and I'm in and out, then she sleeps in that chair all day and then doesn't sleep at night at all.
Exactly.
So, and that's so frustrating to her to be awake all night. You know? But she can't help it if she can't do anything but sit down, and when she sits down in that recliner,
She goes to sleep, and I would too.
I would too.
Because when I watch TV, I fall
I
asleep.
do too, but in that nice, easy-going recliner chair, that's
Hard to resist.
sleep-inducing, to say the least.
Yeah.
So, where are you all off to now?
Liquor store.
Yeah, going to the ABC store, then to Lynn's house, and then they're coming over to get started
All
or
right, but
something.
listen, don't buy any Riesling. I got a bottle. I'm
Okay.
gonna bring it
All
with
right,
me.
you don't have to. We got plenty. So y'all are doing some repairs throughout the
yeah.
whole.
See, well, these buildings, honey, are 32 years old.
I'll be darned.
And that's lasted 32 years. I don't have a spot on mine, and mine was the original townhouse.
I'll be darned.
It
No
was the model for
coincidence.
years.
Nice.
Is that the only one they're having to take it off
No,
of? or
well,
they got some
everybody,
others?
all of them have had to do some. Even I have had to do some too.
Does the condo association pay for that, or is
Oh,
that
no.
each individual
This
person?
is not condo. Townhouse. Condo means you
Okay.
own everything inside the wall and nothing else. Townhouse means you own the walls and 4 feet on
Oh,
each
really?
side of your or common wall.
Right.
See?
Okay.
So, but these are townhouses, and no, each one of us has to pay for our own repairs and stuff, and taking trees down and stuff like that.
Cleaning
so.
your gutters.
Yeah, oh yeah. But
Okay.
I have an attorney that lives next door to me, and he cleans my gutters for me
Oh, really?
all the time.
Oh, good.
But we do for each other because he doesn't take the newspaper, and every
Oh, yeah,
morning
you
I
throw it
I
over.
throw it up for him. So
He
we
can't afford it. He can't afford
Of
it.
course he cannot. No. So, but every now and then, everybody, all these houses, every one of them have had some stucco work done. And we knew this was bad, but we didn't say anything because Neil was dying, and he finally did die.
He's the one that had the
Heart attack.
But is the one that the ambulance was here twice a week?
That's the one.
It was 3 weeks ago when I was here. The ambulance came.
Yeah.
He finally
He
died.
finally died of a heart attack.
Wow.
And
How old
so-
was he?
76.
Young.
Young by my standards.
Young old, definitely.
Who's that guy who just drove in?
Oh, that's our treasurer. That's Mike Murphy. Lives in the first house back this way on the left.
Across from Mel Pope? Or no,
Exactly
Mel? Or,
no, right across from Mel.
Okay.
Now, the Warrens live on the end across from Jenny. Jenny's
Okay.
the last one on the end.
Got you.
And he's our treasurer, and he does a real good job, and we hope and pray that he doesn't get a notion that he wants to quit. We don't want to do that.
Well, I saw Mel Pope last night when we came into town with his girlfriend.
Yeah.
Riding bicycles.
She's living now.
Oh, stop it.
She is.
She is?
Yep. Absolutely.
What's her name?
Natasha.
Really?
Natasha. She's a sweet girl. We all enjoy her, and she's pretty.
She is pretty.
She's got a figure to die for.
Is she Russian?
No.
No.
Where's your guitar, Kenneth? Back here?
Okay.
But she doesn't have a beautiful face. She has an okay face, and she has pretty teeth. So when she smiles, but she's got a knockout figure, and
I saw her. I noticed
she's so
that.
helpful, and I could depend on her. After I got through with all this landscaping, I had to have people to volunteer to water every day for 2 weeks to keep these plants from dying. And she was the first one to
Is that her
volunteer.
there? I think it is.
Yeah, she was the first one to volunteer, and every day she was out there watering those plants.
Huh.
And nobody else.
Wow.
I had to call everybody else and say, have you watered your plants today?
Really?
Yeah. But I think we got through the 2 weeks now.
She's friendly.
Oh yeah, very.
Where's she from?
I don't really know. She's lived here in Tallahassee for a long, long time, but I don't know what the city of origin was.
Her boyfriend, though, was one of my fraternity brothers here at FSU. And a friend of the family's from forever.
Yeah, yeah. Mel worries me, David. He's drinking too much.
Really?
Oh my God.
This is your fraternity brother?
Yeah.
He's drinking.
How you know? You see?
He came to the board meeting drunk as a hoot owl.
Really?
Wednesday night.
Really?
And that's
On
the
a Wednesday
second time.
night?
Second time he's been to a
Lord,
board
if it's
meeting
not a
drunk.
Suber, it's a Pope.
And Mel, his daddy is, I've never seen him even high. He and Kathy, neither one.
I haven't either. I mean, when we were in college, we would get inebriated quite regularly, especially at the beach, but never, I would.
But not in regular day
Yeah,
living. You
right.
just don't do that unless there's a problem. And I'm really worried about him. He just does it too often, and he does it every night. When he was the president, we'd go to his house for the board meetings, and every time we got there, he was drunk. He was on his feet and could talk, but he slurred his words and he talked too loud.
It sounds just like my daddy.
Aww.
I know the symptoms of what you speak. I live these symptoms.
Oh, man.
I suffer these symptoms.
Well, listen, as long as he stays okay, if he gets out of hand, call me.
I will call you first thing. In fact, you might get a call later tonight.
She'll be there. You won't have to call very
Okay.
far.
Well, then that's good. We can restrain them together.
Okay. We'll see you in a little while.